Now live from Austin, Texas, here's Alex Jones.
You know, people are very arrogant, and they don't want to believe they're enslaved. They don't want to face up that there's something bad happening or going on because they're lazy and because they don't have enough respect for themselves subconsciously to believe that they can actually affect change or do anything about it. Well, listen up and listen good. You're only alive once. It's a very special time to be alive. Humanity is at a historic crossroads. And I'm asking new listeners to take a challenge, to check out the claims I've made in the last hour, though they sound incredible, because if just 10% of what I was saying was accurate, you're in a lot of trouble. And I got news for you. I can't present all the evidence I've got on any one subject. It's much worse than I was saying. And we're all in it together. These people running things are geniuses. It is very well orchestrated. And they are in control. But they're not in complete control. And we've got to wrest control away from them before their grip gets too tight. All right, I said I'd go to your calls. Toll-free number 877-590-5525, 877-590-5525, or 836-0590 for local listeners that listen to us on the 590 AM station, KLBJ. And then coming up, update HR 1207, now up to 179 sponsors to audit the private Fed. This is the Times of London headline, FBI lured dimwits into terror plot. The arrest of petty crooks over a plan to target Jews has put the use of sting operations under fire. We wrote a story back when this broke on Wednesday. In fact, I didn't print it off. What's that headline in there? The one that's got the Jon Stewart clip from 3 years ago I'm going to play. The last time I did a stage deal like this in Miami. The headline was, what? Well, I know. Say that on air so folks can hear it. Swing your mic around. I just want to point out that we pegged this exactly.
New York terror plot, another government provocateur set up.
And then we go on to say they will end up being on welfare as borderline retarded and will be potheads. And then it came out in mainstream news 3 days later. Exactly. Mentally retarded, potheads, on welfare, Christian group, not even, just like Miami, some Muslim, some Christian, totally retarded. Feds created the group and would give them tons of cash to say they were going to attack. That's coming up. Also, I want to get into the control grid itself. You know what their goal is, eugenics, population reduction, total enslavement. But what will the process look like of getting there, and what is the cashless society enslavement system? Right now, let's go to KJ in South Florida. KJ, you are on the air. Go ahead.
Good to talk to you, Alex. I do have a couple of real-life examples to support your points. I remember back in high school, them giving us shots back in the 70s, and students passing out in class. One guy right beside me fell down, was shaking like a leaf, you know.
What, you didn't like being injected with SV40 cancer virus? You don't like dying of cancer?
Oh,
but it's
God.
for the earth. David Rockefeller knows best. I mean, I just read the Mayo Clinic, 2.9 times, almost 3 times more likely to get the flu and go to the hospital or die if you take the flu shot. Science Daily, I mean, just don't listen to the Mayo Clinic. Take the injection. Gender bending chemicals in plastic sterilizing you? What's wrong?
Well, people, they're just so trained to believe that doctor wearing those smocks, just like that Milgram experiment,
And all they are is a technician, especially now that takes their orders off an HMO computer written up by the feds. They just carry out what they're ordered to do.
Actually, as a matter of fact, Alex, I was recently in the hospital. They had to fix a broken bone I had. They wanted to give me an injection of a vaccine. I said, wait a minute, no, I don't know any.
No, everyone, pediatricians, regular doctors, clinics, they, by regulations, are supposed to push it on you. This is ahead of making it the law, as they've admitted. Hundreds of injections you'll be forced a year to take. HPV, killing girls in mass, the papilloma shot, Gardasil. Just enjoy yourselves.
Yeah, I got you. See, I was going to tell you, too, I was in the business at one point, so I kind of know the facts about the pill. You were talking about that earlier, the estrogen. The birth control pill, it's an abortifacient, meaning it causes abortion at a very early stage. Plus, a lot of people don't realize that one of the main ingredients in the pill that they sell is pregnant mare urine.
Yeah, what they do is give you certain types of hormones so your body thinks it's pregnant so you can't get pregnant. And that just so happens to be what the plastic bottles leach out of hundreds of different formulas for polyurethane and other plastics. They pick the one for universal adoption that just so happens to sterilize you. And I just so happen to have Australian mainstream newspapers where their government proposed doing it with their plastics in the 1950s. But they love us. Oh.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, Alex, I had a quick question. When they start going to these, getting people into the camps, what do they do with, like, legal aliens or...
Well, no. They make you want to go to the camps. As I said, first they say you're not allowed to be homeless in California, in Hawaii and other states. Then they make you go live in a camp. And then they badmouth how you're being paid to live at the camp. Then you got to start working at the camp. And then the illegals, the camps, they admit the FEMA camps are for the illegals to sell that because it's popular. But then it's really for the general public.
Well, I mean, like, people like my, people I know who are like...
Well, society collapsed. I mean, they're lucky there's camps. They're going to have, I mean, when they do Marine Corps drills, they have role players begging to be in the camp. See, that's how the psychology works. Go ahead.
People like on green cards or foreigners, what would they do with those people?
Well, if they're not causing a political problem and they want to work for low wages, they'll be just fine. It's mainly people that own businesses or things that local Nazis, local globalists are going to want to rob. There's going to be so many as the system heats up that are like, wait a minute, your son denounced you as part of AmeriCorps. Have you seen the new AmeriCorps ads where they're marching in military formation, chanting and saying, this is my uniform, I rule you? Oh, it's so good. Come on, you know it's good. Ken in Maryland, you're on the air.
Hey, Alex.
Hi.
We're just looking through a periodical, and it was mentioning some House resolutions out of Texas. That's HCR 50, and the other one is, hold on, give me a sec, HCR 76, which is a concurrent resolution.
Okay, tell us about them.
The one is basically talking about the state sovereignty of Texas.
Yeah, I had the state senator on from Texas that introduced it, and a bunch of states have passed it. 30 plus are considering passing it. It declares sovereignty against the feds under 9th and 10th Amendment. The media calls it secession. No, it's not. The states created the federal government. They're saying, hey, Jack, stop violating the Bill of Rights and Constitution.
Now,
what about it?
Senator Berman?
Yes.
Yeah. And before, I have to commend you on having Mr. Levy on Friday, speaking about the, I guess you would say the centers of power. Have you seen the movie Empire of the City?
No, I haven't.
Okay, about 30 minutes into the film, it talks about 3 centers of power. It talks about the Vatican, which is a city, which is a country that's in a city that's in a country.
Then you've got London, that is a private corporate city within a city that is part of a country. And you've got the Washington, D.C., the political power in D.C., the money power in London, the religious power in Rome.
I read this book one day, and I think it said something about all 3 of these systems coming together.
Yeah, I'm not here to bash Catholics, but the Pope, the last 2, Benedict and then John Paul before him, did call for one world government, but also the Baptists are calling for it, and the clergy response teams are saying, turn your guns in, it's of the Lord, take the inoculations. We broke that a year and a half before it was declassified. I'm not bragging. I'm just starting to realize we're like breaking everything. We're the ones that basically brought Estelin over here. I got him on Coast to Coast AM. That got picked up. Now the guys that put out he told me this 2 years ago. It's just so exciting. The guys that put out Terminator Salvation and bought the Philip K. Dick books or have an option on them. I separately knew about them from other folks because I've been in the Philip K. Dick movie, Scanner Darkly, that they're making their next movie about the Bilderberg Group. I knew this 2 years ago and never talked about it because it sounded so wild. I believed it, but I didn't think listeners would believe me. Now it's being announced, and I'm going to talk more about it tomorrow. Anyways, that'll come up later, that they're going to make a international movie about the Bilderberg Group, and I'm just so glad that we keep setting these bushfires, keep bringing people together, keep integrating the information, keep blasting it out there. Good to hear from you. Bob, Mark, Lewis, many others. Your call straight ahead. Then I'm going to get into the massive control grid. I'm going to get into how they set up fake terror groups. Stay with us. I'm Alex Jones.